Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we continue our journey through Bowling for Soup's favorite year, 1985, as we finish off the last two episodes of Jim Henson Presents The World of Puppetry, featuring puppeteers Albrecht Roser and Richard Bradshaw.
This did not make it into their song about the year, though.
Debbie just hit the wall. Richard Bradshaw had it all.
I don't know that song well enough to improvise on it. But I feel like Albrecht Roser, that feels like words that would fit into the song somewhere. Because don't they go like, "Darny, darny"? Is that a part of it?
Yeah, it's since Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, way before Nirvana, there was U2 and Blondie.
Albrecht Roser's clown guy.
Albert Roser's puppetry.
That's much better, yeah.
You know, we are currently more years from that song coming out than that song is from 1985.
So now we could write a song called 1985 about how much we love the song 1985. That was from longer ago than from when the song 1985 came out from 1985.
I mean, yeah. I thought you were going to go the direction of like we could write a song about 2004, which is when the song came out.
Oh,
But I like
and
your
then how-
idea
Yeah.
of reacting to the song and being like, man, remember when Bowling for Soup sang about Bruce Springsteen, Madonna?
We could do a minute by minute podcast of that song. We have to do like a 10-second by 10-second podcast of that song.
We could do a deep dive, like, multi-part podcast about each reference
Ooh.
throughout that song. Like each episode is like, okay, this week's episode's all about Bruce Springsteen. Next week, Madonna. Next episode, Nirvana.
And really, what more in the zeitgeist song could we pick than 1985 by Bowling for Soup?
But as far as like being interesting, the first reference is one Prozac a day. Whole
Oh,
episode about the history of Prozac.
that's right. Hey, maybe this is a good idea.
Next thing says, husband's a CPA. Let's have a CPA on the podcast, interview them, talk about what the hell they do.
Why is that a line in the song?
Because it's Debbie just hit the wall. She never had it all. One Prozac a day. Husband's a CPA.
Oh, boring. Yeah, we'll get the CPA on and be like, why are you so boring?
What do you think of being the reference in a song for sucking?
Why'd you do that to Debbie?
Because the next line is, her dreams went out the door when she turned 24. Only been with one man. What happened to her plan? So,
Brutal.
we can't really do a podcast about that line.
No, that's too sad.
Yeah.
This is a good idea. Do not steal this idea,
Or,
anybody.
to be fair, Sam, we're pretty busy guys. I don't know that we have time to make this podcast. What if we produce this podcast from afar?
Oh, Matt, that's such a good idea.
We own it, TM. We own this podcast idea.
Somebody else do it, though, please.
Yeah.
And give us all the money.
Unless it already exists, then no TM. Good job, other people who already thought of this idea.
Wait, it's a cover?
Yeah, that's the weirder part.
Wow.
It's a cover of SR-71, which is a band I always forget the name of, because why would you remember that name? They had their one hit song was Right Now, which is a song you would know, but could never name the band because it's SR-71.
Right.
It's sort of, there's a couple songs like that, like the Year 3000 Jonas Brothers song, if you're aware of that one, is a cover.
Yeah, people are always surprised that Blinded by the Light is a cover of a Bruce Springsteen song.
I didn't know that.
And the people who, Manfred Mann's Earth Band is the cover artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've read something that said that they were so embarrassed. Like they met him and they were like, oh, we're so sorry about what we did to your song.
The weirdest one for me of like secret writers is, do you know the song? from 2003. It was big, I think exclusively in 2003,
That
called
was big in
Stupid.
2003, so I better know it.
It was called Stupid Girl by the band Cold. It's like,
Ooh.
wanna love ya, wanna bug ya, wanna squeeze ya, stupid girl.
You're good at that.
I mean, I heard that song a billion times, but do you know that song?
No, but I bet they played this song in Hot Topic. Is that why you know it?
No, because it was on like MTV2 and like TRL kind of
Mm-hmm.
era, when music videos were just airing nonstop. And I
Uh-huh.
would go over to like a friend's house after school. We just put on MTV and watch music like TRL and stuff.
Those are the
And
days.
this was one. The reason I brought this up is this song was written by Rivers Cuomo from Weezer.
Oh.
And it, at first glance, if you just heard the song, you may not realize that. But if you, this is for like me only, I think right now. I'm narrow casting like crazy. But if you imagine this song being sung by Rivers Cuomo, it sounds like a Weezer song.
That was exactly what I did when you said that, and I was like, oh yeah, this sounds just like a
Yes.
Weezer song.
Yeah, even the chorus like gets into like high notes and like harmonies and stuff, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a Weezer song. They just like tuned down their guitars a little bit
Right.
and leaned into this new metal thing.
They're non-ironically playing new metal when Weezer occasionally ironically played new metal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But yeah, I don't know what the band Cold is up to these days, or if they're, okay people or not. But I know they I remember them being a thing for a very limited number of years.
Coldplay came and ate their lunch, took their spot on the CD rack. We're a million years old.
Oh yeah, did you not realize that?
I'm realizing it more and more every day.
What's is it just talking about music that's older than the people who listen to our podcast?
That's mostly, I just think about the people who listen to the show.
We're
and think,
Sam.
yeah.
We literally just fell into doing our own version of Bowling for Soup's 1985.
We did. It's natural. It's too natural to us.
Shit, that.
I
God
think we
damn
have
it.
to do it. I think we maybe have to do it.
Oh no. Well, Sam, as two natural born podcasters, it feels like, maybe we should try that podcasting thing today. So, how about you tell the people what we watched this week?
We watched the last 2 episodes of Jim Henson Presents The World of Puppetry. The first that we watched featured German marionette artist Albrecht Roser. Albrecht talks to Jim about the link between perfection and simplicity, and his belief that a puppeteer needs at least 15 years to actually be good at what they do, while performing acts like a clown plays piano, a clown gets sad about a ball, a clown walks around for a while, a crane walks around for a while, a lady dances, and a bunch of guys turn into a spider. Then we met Australian shadow puppeteer Richard Bradshaw, whose work we've previously seen on The Muppet Show. Jim describes him as one of his oldest friends, and in my opinion, that really comes across. Richard is down to talk about his craft, but also shows a humility and pragmatism that maybe some of the other puppeteers that we've seen have lacked a little bit. Like he basically says, oh yeah, I just make these guys out of crummy cardboard, and sometimes I drop them or their legs fall off during a show. His act includes several rapid fire gags and also longer pieces like a weirdo version of Old MacDonald, an Aboriginal tale about the creation of the sun, and a song about Super Kangaroo, a superhero kangaroo who saves the citizens of Australia from all types of jams.
Yeah, these are the last 2 episodes of this series. Jim Henson Presents The World of Puppetry. Again, these were produced during 1985. We don't know when they were released to schools and public television stations. So we have discussed them throughout 1985, sprinkled in to break up some of the Muppet Babies and Fraggle Rock-ness of the year.
Yeah, but at what cost? Is it really that much better?
I think it's different enough.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
sometimes we get some gems buried amongst the
Some Jim Gems.
Jim Gems.
Jim Gems.
Jim Gems.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess first, Sam, thoughts on this series overall now that we finished it?
I think I'm glad I watched it in a way,
Mhm.
but if I hadn't had to watch it for this, I don't think I would have finished it.
Mm.
It was uneven. And I
Yeah.
think the last episode that we watched frustrated me because that one was closer to what I was looking for out of all of them.
Yeah.
in a way that, it's entirely possible that some of the people he interviewed were difficult enough to interview that he just couldn't get the same level of like insight into them, or he was just like the film crew he was, but I don't know. But the last one had a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It had a lot of like pleasant conversation. It had a little bit of theory. It had I think it's important that to some degree any artist really, but like when I was listening to Richard Bradshaw, I was like, "Oh, I'm realizing what's annoyed me so deeply about all of the other puppeteers, and
Mm.
that is that they are so deeply pretentious. Um, that's just not something I respond to. But
Right.
but when he is kind of like, he's kind of like, oh, the biggest problem I have is that I have to make two of each guy because I can't turn around. Like that's the kind of stuff I want to hear a puppeteer talk about. Like my strings got tangled up or something. Like I don't want to hear about I don't want to hear about your theories of the universe. I want to hear a little bit about that and a lot
Right.
about making a little guy dance around. And it's especially like I think Albrecht Roser is one of the worst offenders of like big idea and then you show what he's doing. And sometimes, no offense to Albrecht Roser, sometimes it was just a guy going like waddling around the stage. It's like, what are you talking about? What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. There's definitely some of these I would have skimmed if I was watching them not for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would have skipped some of the performances or bumped up to 2 times speed or something.
Yeah,
But I am really glad we ended on Richard Bradshaw as well because
me
I
too.
think it
Yeah.
leaves a good taste in our mouths as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to I think if these had even been flipped, just ending on Albrecht Roser would have been a bummer to be like,
Yeah. You're like,
whatever, this
time to
series is
go to
okay.
sleep. Yeah.
But I think ending on Richard Bradshaw, I think Richard Bradshaw is the one that if you're going to watch any episode of this series, that's the one I would probably recommend you watch because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just enjoyable as an episode of television,
Right.
regardless of your investment going in about Jim Henson or puppets in general.
I think it's maybe a little bit unfair too because I think his stuff translates so well to TV because it's
Yeah.
almost like on a TV anyway.
Well, and it's like a living cartoon
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. Whereas the marionette stuff, I really the whole time I was like, am I just not getting this? Like, is there some like I understand that it's hard to manipulate them or like
Right.
it's artful to manipulate them, but the end effect was not something that was impressing me.
That's okay. So, like, maybe impressing is the wrong word for me to use here, but this is, I feel the same way about like that style of marionette puppet that I do about like dance as like a
Wow.
performance thing. Whereas, like, I can look at it and go, that's impressive. I know you are working hard. I know this is really, thoughtfully
Yeah.
choreographed, but like something about watching like ballet or dance just doesn't connect with me. I'm not sure
Right.
why. I'm probably a broken person, but
No, I don't think so. I don't have that problem because I do
yeah,
find dance impressive, but I'm sure if I thought really hard about it, there'd be a similar thing to me.
yeah. Like I have like it's whether it doesn't even matter like the type of dance. Like it can be like a tap scene in a movie or a big musical number. Like I like for some reason no matter how skilled the dancers, no matter how big the
Uh-huh.
number is, I can watch it and go like,
Wow.
okay, that that happened.
You
But
wouldn't
like
get
it doesn't.
anything out of Magic Mike. They're really expressing it all through dance in that movie.
I mean, probably not. At least not the dancing scenes. Maybe the dramatic scenes in between. But
Yeah, maybe.
dancing just isn't for me for some weird reason.
Hmm.
And I think the marionettes tap into that same thing where I can look
Right.
at it and say, I understand this is impressive,
Yeah.
but I think especially with Albrecht Roser, I'm impressed for like 5 seconds
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, that's a cool ass puppet. Good job. I think maybe
And then
that's
it's like,
it
oh,
though.
you're still doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think for me, his storytelling is not strong.
Mm-hmm.
And like, especially compared to Jim and the Muppets, it's not strong. But watched back to back with Richard Bradshaw, who is
Yeah.
one of the best storytellers,
Yeah.
even when most of the time, I think almost entirely actually, he's telling stories that other people have written or come up with. So he is
Right.
retelling stories, but he is doing such a better job of being a
Well,
storyteller and so
yeah.
engaging that
He
he
can also
just,
do
yeah.
those little one-off like New Yorker newspaper gag kind of like,
Yeah.
which is a total like you have to be great at telling stories to tell a story in 0.4 seconds.
Yeah. In, out. That's it. That's all you need. Dutchman
Yeah.
walks into a windmill. The windmill spins up, flies
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think it feels so mean, but I think Albrecht Roser is the worst storyteller of any of the people that we saw.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like there's definitely some bad examples from previous episodes, but I do think, I think his episode is interesting. And I think, like, overall, the formatting of these shows is so wild that they only made 6 of these and they all feel like different shows at
Uh-huh.
certain points
Uh-huh.
because the format is all over the place. But I think we talked in the previous ones about how these often will start off with the best possible thing, and then it all
Right.
feels sort of downhill from there, where the
Mhm.
first sketch they're doing is the most technically impressive, it's the biggest one, it's the funniest one, and then it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we still got 50 minutes of this left."
Uh-huh.
Albert Groser did not have that problem because he started off with his absolute worst.
You think the grandma knitting was the worst one?
I think the grandma
She at least was goofing around, you know?
I think it felt the most, "Oh, I have nothing right now to
Uh-huh.
say, but I have to fill a few minutes before we transition into the interview segment."
Yeah. I guess that makes sense because that was the one where it ended with like, and now Jim's gonna ask me some questions. So that was specifically for that purpose.
I think it also feels disconnected because my instinct says they filmed that one without an audience and added a laugh track because the
Oh,
the audience is laughing at things that aren't anything. Like, it's not even
that's
like
true.
a language barrier that I'm missing. The the grandma just continues knitting in the exact same way she was knitting, and all of a sudden there's a random laugh, and he's not really reacting to the laughs. The camera is like right in front of this thing, so I'm guessing they filmed that separately. Maybe, I don't
Uh-huh.
really know, but
Maybe you had to just be there,
I
you
mean,
know?
maybe. But yeah, kind of wild.
I liked the granny the best, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
really?
he's gonna do lots of little voices and goofy guys," because the description for the episode is like his lovingly rendered characters are like so full of emotion.
Hmm.
So I thought, oh, he's gonna be a little goofy voice guy. He's gonna do his Mrs. Doubtfire voice for this granny, but then he didn't do anything else like that.
You know, I think for me, I was always the behind the scenes interview moments with Jim and Albrecht. I think were probably the better part of the episode in that
Mm-hmm.
one. But there are a couple puppets in that one that were technically impressive. That
Yeah,
uh,
I suppose that's true.
you know, I was at least impressed by the spider one, especially.
The spider one was genuinely very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into the Albrecht Roser one a bit more. It was videotaped at the Stuttgart, I think it's
Stuttgart.
Stuttgart Puppen and Figuren Theater.
Poopin'?
It's Puppen in the thing I have. I don't know if it's a typo or if maybe that's German for puppet.
I think it's probably German for puppet.
But yeah, in Stuttgart, West Germany, notably, Jim says at the top of the episode here,
Oh, yes, right.
before the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
We get a bit of this, but from Wikipedia, I learned Albrecht came to public attention in 1951 because of his marionette, the clown Gustav.
I
Who
saw
we
that too. We see that guy. He's the one playing piano, I think, right?
correct. And I like that earlier he casually mentions Gustav in a way that if you did not know about his puppet Gustav, you'd think it was just a guy he worked
Just
with.
talking about a guy, yeah.
You're like, oh, I started 30 years ago with Gustav. You're
Oh, I mean, that didn't occur to me until you just said that's not what he was
like,
talking about.
yeah. It's like Jim saying, yeah, I started 30 years ago with Jane.
Yeah. Or I guess I started 30 years ago with Kermit. And if
Well,
you
yes,
didn't
I'm
know that,
saying, but like it's said in the same
yeah,
tone
totally.
as if you're talking about just another person you were
Right.
working with.
Right. Yeah, the war mention did make me go, huh? Because the German guy.
German guy, World War II, fought in
Also,
Russia.
you know what that leads me to the conclusion of?
I'm afraid to know.
Toulon from the Puppet Master. He is the Puppet
That's
Master.
Puppet Master is based on Albrecht Roser.
I mean, honestly, it could possibly be because I can picture these little guys coming to life and killing me. No, not even. It's not even hard to picture at
They even
all.
have the hollow eyes,
Yeah, that
like
was
some
what
of the
there was
Puppet
like.
Master.
Right, there was one in particular, and yeah. The other clown who's evil looking, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh yeah, that guy's gonna wrap himself around me and decapitate me somehow.
Well, like I said, I think the behind the scenes things for me were the most interesting because they talk about Albrecht carving all of his own puppets from blocks of wood. We get to see him and Jim hanging out with like an incomplete puppet at one point,
Hmm.
and we see Jim absolutely fail at being a marionette puppeteer.
Yeah, he gets like frustrated.
Yeah, he like knows at least going in. He says he can manipulate it. He says like the one thing he can't do is marionette,
Yeah.
which a little cocky, which I like. uh,
Yeah.
but I loved seeing Jim try and fail at something.
Because to some degree, you're like, come, you're just being humble. And then he takes that thing and it's like, oh boy.
He immediately just like like it just like
Yeah.
slides down to the side, and after Albrecht, who was just talking about like, yeah, this thing isn't finished, I can manipulate it but I can't perform it, it's not perfect yet, but he's at least like the mouth is moving, it looks sort of alive.
Uh-huh.
Jim grabs it and it instantly looks like a dead block of wood.
Yeah. It's like, maybe I could do a better job with that marionette than Jim did.
But that's the stuff I like seeing in this episode, is
Hmm.
the stuff where Jim sort of humanizes the moment.
Right. And that's the stuff that's the best in almost all of these, is when he's chatting with the person and trying to get something out of them.
But at the beginning, when he talks about he's been doing this for 30 years with Gustav, he refers to Gustav. He says, "I tried to make a perfect thing."
Uh-huh.
Like he talks about perfection a lot as like a thing he is striving for.
Yeah. That in a way, like I can understand that resonates with me. I thought that was interesting, where he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't want to make a lot of stuff, I wanted to make a few perfect things. Like,
Right.
that's interesting, but it makes it funnier to me. And again, this is casually cruel when it
Mm-hmm.
cuts to just like a guy on stage, just, or like the frog thing was like,
Yeah.
that really wasn't very good.
I think for me, again, like I think he made really good puppets.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the puppets are that interesting for longer than
The
5 or 10
things
seconds.
that he's having them do are not that interesting. Maybe at
Right.
some point you say, maybe I need somebody else on stage to be another guy, and then we can have a conversation or something like that.
Right. Or like even just a writer. Like I feel like one thing
Totally.
that was interesting about so many of these episodes of this show is that these are a lot of one-man shows. Like not all of
Mm-hmm.
them, they all like some of them had like bands of people helping them out. Some were like a husband and wife duo, but a lot, like half of them were one-man shows where it's like I do everything from top to bottom.
Right.
And that's interesting, but I think it definitely highlights the weaknesses in some of their performance
Yeah.
when it comes to the creativity and the storytelling. Because it's one thing to
Right.
make a really, really impressive crane puppet that looks like a bird walking around the stage, but at a certain point, it's just a bird walking around a stage.
You really, yeah. There's no punchline to any of these, because yeah, the
Yeah.
bird is just, and you just the whole time you're like, is he gonna catch a fish or is he gonna do something?
But like you look at it and you're like, that
That
is
looks
a
like a
really good
crane.
puppet.
Yeah. Can't deny that it looks like a crane. And that's what cranes do. So it's really realistic. They just do walk around and then fly away. So he kind of nailed it.
Yeah. It's almost like like when you'll see somebody's paintings or drawings or like that of like a still life thing,
Uh-huh.
or just like the idea of, yeah, go take an interesting picture of a sunset. And it's like, well, you took a picture of a sunset, but you didn't take an interesting picture of a sunset.
Yeah.
Or, yes, that is a picture of a bird. It's
Right.
not a good picture of a bird.
Right.
Like this is, I think, one of those things where it's like the content of a good puppet show, like the baseline is there of like you have a good puppet, but as far as a public performance goes, it's
Yes.
not quite stepping over into that. And maybe
Yes.
that's
There.
again, maybe the crowds that he was drawing were, like early magic shows where they're just like, what, it's a bird but it's not a bird, whoa.
Yeah, but that's like what people said in like the medieval France.
Yeah,
I don't think people
they
in
hadn't seen Kermit
1985.
yet.
Yeah, I don't think people in 1985 who had Transformers the movie were going and seeing this bird and saying, "Can you believe it?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that bird a robot too?
He turns into a Corvette, but he doesn't. He just walks around. But yeah, maybe it's reductive to say that like all art needs to have, it needs to have something to think about, I guess, or else you're just
Mm.
gonna forget it the second it's over.
Right. It's
And
not just, that looked good, I guess.
Yeah, cool bird. But I am willing to accept, as with all of these, that there's something about seeing it in person
Right.
that would be more captivating.
This felt a lot to me like the scenes in Being John Malkovich,
Mm.
where he's doing his puppet show on the street and
Mm-hmm.
people are watching it being like, what is this?
Yeah,
What are you doing here? And
sure.
similar to Being John Malkovich, random sexuality creeps its head into this at one point.
Well, what? I don't remember that.
There's boobs in this, Sam.
There's boobs in this?
How'd you miss the boobs?
Was it the belly dancer lady?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I just looked away for a moment and I missed the boobs.
There's a belly dancing puppet who does not really have a torso. She, she has a floating head, floating boobs, and a belly, but
I
they're
think
not
mostly
attached.
I was contemplating the big ball of a belly, like a big ball hips that she had.
Yeah, it's basically like from right above her belly button down to her butt is a big
Mm-hmm.
ball. But above that are just two floating spheres with nipples drawn on them.
Oh man, I can't believe it.
You missed them.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't think you need to go back and check it out.
How much had my attention must have drifted to miss that?
But yeah, a lot of these puppets are just, impressive to look at, but not much happens. We have a shaggy looking musician that, again, is a pretty impressive puppet, but
Yeah.
I think I just need more with my puppetry.
Yep. Because he just sings a song,
Yeah.
kind of, and then that's the end.
Yeah. And that's when we get the frog choir and frog conductor. I'm not really sure what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's like a board of frog puppets who are singing along to like trumpet noises, and then one frog is just losing it and jumping around the stage.
And that is what mostly they like when his guys are dancing, they're kind of just losing it and jumping around the stage.
I will ask you, Sam, how is the frog choir moving?
That I wasn't sure about because he didn't have like a foot pedal, did he?
Right. I thought he might,
Right.
but he seems to be walking around. There's nothing attached to him, no pedal that I saw. But these frogs are just singing in sync with the music. So I don't know if there's like an audio animatronic aspect
Yeah,
to it.
that's what I would guess. Maybe
But
like a music box thing almost going on.
yeah, like it wasn't, again, wasn't that great of like a sketch.
Right.
But when you can do something that I don't know how you did it, at least you got my attention.
Yeah. It bothered me that there was only one trumpet sound being made, but there was like a billion frogs.
And also, a frog is not necessarily an animal I associate with the sound of a trumpet.
No, but that was kind of funny. If it had been like a whole, I don't know. That one was close to something, but it kind of reminded me like those old Betty Boop cartoons when there's like the rotoscoped like Cab
Mm,
Calloway does his little dance.
yeah.
So but the dance was not as impressive as a Cab Calloway's little dance.
Well, I think what that one is missing a little bit uh, is that Muppet chaos, where
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the early Muppet sketches we watched in the Today Show and Ed Sullivan are these things where it's a pretty standard situation, but one chaotic character comes in and ruins it.
Right.
Whether it's Menomina joining that orchestra, or whether it's just like a guitarist going off singing about like yes, we have no bananas, or there's like a
Mm-hmm.
drummer one I think I remember. But like this just kind of feels like the frog is more chaotic than the other frogs, but it's not a problem.
But he's not causing an issue. They're all aware that he's going to do that little dance.
Yeah, and it doesn't change their performance at all.
Right. Yeah, and I guess like part of me feels bad to be like all art needs to be like that. Like you need to do a Muppet type skit.
Yeah.
But you got to do something, man.
At least for our attention. Like again, there are people in that crowd. There are people who showed up to watch that guy for, decades. So
That's true.
it's not like this is some amateur Jim pulled off the street to be like, hey, you
Uh-huh.
like my puppet friend? It's like this guy was very successful for a very long time. So
Yeah, that's
who are
true.
we to tell Albrecht Roser how to puppeteer? But we will continue to do that right now, because Jim and Albrecht talk a bit about. I think Jim brings up sort of like, are you comfortable performing in front of that many people? There's a big crowd there. And Albrecht's like, oh no, I hate it. Sucks. This is the
Yeah.
worst thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I thought that if I made really good puppets, that would protect me from being seen by people.
Uh-huh.
And then he made puppets where he has to stand on the stage the whole time and talk.
Yeah, what a fool. Especially that like marionettes you can actually be behind something.
That was a choice. It was interesting that,
Yeah.
a lot of marionette puppeteers are above the stage,
Mm-hmm.
unseen, but he's right there with them.
There's probably some psychological thing going on there. Torturing himself somehow.
Well, and it makes sense when there's ones that interact with him Like the Gustav
Right.
puppet, when he's playing piano, keeps like scooting his chair back
He
where he's
gets
like moving away from the
excited.
piano, and
Yeah.
his foot comes in and kicks the chair closer,
Mhm.
and that works. And there's a '70s like go-go dancing kind of lady happening later on, and I think that's actually one of my favorites that he does. She's very natural and expressive
Mhm.
when she's dancing around the screen. But at one point, she starts dancing with his legs,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's why you're here. Like that's why your legs are on stage, is so they can become a character."
That's that classic German comedy. The puppet's dancing with his
They
legs.
love
Wow.
legs.
Wow.
But Jim praises Albrecht throughout this, saying he gets more personality into a marionette than anyone else. And Albrecht says, "String puppetry is very hard. No normal man can do it."
Yeah, that's about right.
But Jim brings up the scarf number and says it's one of Albrecht's most notable numbers. And I feel like,
Yes.
I don't know if it's just because I think it's in the opening of this show that I feel like I've seen it before, but I feel like maybe this also showed up in one of those like World of Puppetry,
Oh,
the Puppetry Festival
right,
documentary thing we watched, Here Come the
right.
Puppets. Like I feel like I've seen maybe a small clip of this thing before, or somebody did something similar to it.
Okay. It didn't
Because it
look
is
familiar
just,
to me.
a few scarf dancers. He's controlling 3 scarf dancers at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. I was trying to put myself in Jim's shoes in this one and be like,
Mm.
what do I like so much about this? And actually what's occurring to me is that maybe I would have liked an element cuz Jim is like maybe Jim's perspective is everybody likes puppets. I don't
Hmm.
have to explain why this is good. But maybe there needed to be an element of him like narrating or talking over the performance to be like, and here's why this is so hard. Like Secrets of the Magicians Revealed or whatever. Would have helped
Right.
me
Yeah.
understand the scarf, why he said the scarf one is one of his favorite numbers.
Yeah. It seemed like they were basing it on. Uh, it's a way to show people that you can do a lot with a little.
Right.
That it is just like a little wooden ball with a scarf, and look, you get a believable character out of this.
Yeah.
Um, Sort of like, if Jim did this with the like, the sock and things with when him and Don, Celine, and Frank were making
Yeah,
puppets
we're
on that one
making
special.
guys. Yeah.
Like, look, you can just grab this sock and boom, it's a character. And I feel like
Mhm.
this is his version of that.
Yeah, but we saw Sergei Obraztsov do that by just putting like a ball on his finger,
That's
you know?
true.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I think maybe my problem, yeah, I think Jim just doesn't explain all of this well enough, maybe.
Yeah. But we do get a bit of Jim. I think like you're right that Jim could do more to talk about why this is interesting to him. But I think he also does a good job in this one where he's asking some questions that I would have liked to ask.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like he asks him like, "How do you know where to put the strings?"
Oh, I like that part too. Even though the answer was like, and I actually thought it was interesting that the answer was like, I don't really know. You
Yeah.
just got to do it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those institutional knowledge things where he's been doing it for so long now that he can't really describe how to do it,
Uh huh.
and he's probably messed it up enough times that he knows what to avoid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just sort of talks about how you need basically 3 strings to control something. So like
Right.
3 different points of touch to control something, and he shows us off like with just a simple little ball that
Uh
like you
huh.
can even animate a ball if you have 3 points of touch.
Yeah, I would have liked to see more of him manipulating that big rig and doing stuff like that. I'm picturing like
Yeah.
what like at work we would make like a puppet doc. Like if we had made this, it would
Right.
have been like the history of marionettes started a billion years ago, and then by the end of it, you'd be like, I know everything and more than I would ever hope to know about marionettes.
When
But
he's showing off that big rig, like this, like whatever the marionette controller or whatever it is,
yeah,
that thing looks impossible,
there's so much
and
stuff going on.
like it looks magic. He's got like 6 or 7 different moving things on there,
Yeah,
and he's just like, yeah, this is the legs, this is the hips, this one's the head, this one's the arms, and you're just like, right, but you have one hand that
but
you're like, or 2 hands that you're using to manipulate this stuff,
yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it happening.
right? Which is the thing that I think the Richard Bradshaw one does so well,
Mm-hmm.
is that we get to watch him do what he does, and it's still like magic because you're just
Uh-huh.
like, I logically can see how you're doing what you're doing
Yeah.
and still couldn't replicate it.
Yeah, and it looks easy in a way. Like,
There's a specific moment in that one that I really want to talk about of how just like it immediately broke my brain. I was like, okay, this guy's a genius.
okay.
But then we see 4 people dancing. A little puppet comes out, 4 people grouped together dancing. Again, you don't think much is going to happen. And then it turns into a spider
Yeah, like
effortlessly.
a pretty convincing spider too.
And it
there's kind
converts
of
back, which is something that I think in the past when we've seen some
right, like the
puppets that convert from one to
Boerwinkles.
the other, yeah,
Yeah,
like that's a one-way
they're
street. Like,
fucked once they do that.
yeah, they peel off a layer of something and they're like, well, it's going to spend an hour reattaching that later.
Yeah.
But this thing switches back and forth. This is the transformer we wanted earlier.
That's right. He had just seen Transformers the movie. He said that hot rod's pretty cool. What if
But
I
what if
did
he was a spider?
that? And that's where Beast Wars got the idea. But this was cool. And the way it was lit, there was like a shadow of the spider on the back wall. And it
Mhm.
was like, oh, if I had seen that shadow projected, I would just assume there was actually a spider crawling around.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, especially these 2 episodes back to back, how he plays with shadow a little bit.
Yeah.
The belly dancing woman also had a bit of shadow play on the back
Mm-hmm.
wall, but not necessarily using the shadow as like an additional piece of the story.
Right.
Just I think selling the illusion of like, yep, that looks like a real spider walking around.
Yeah. But this was fucking cool.
Mhm.
And I'm surprised this wasn't the one where Jim was like, this is the coolest. This is my favorite thing that you've done.
Yeah, they don't talk about it at all.
No, he
It just
never gets any
happens.
props for making this sick spider puppet. And there's nothing else he does that is even really remotely close to this. He must have been having a weird day that day, you know?
This is his, he wakes up from a fever dream and is like,
Uh-huh.
spider puppet.
Yeah. And this puppet would kill your ass in Puppet Master also.
Well, it's very unassuming. You'd be like, oh, look at the
Whoa.
cute
Yeah,
little
that would be a
dancing.
great Puppet
And then just,
Master battle.
well, weirdly enough, that is a great moment. But then the rest of the episode is Jim and Albrecht having a conversation, and then a weird, sad clown chasing a balloon.
Yeah.
But the conversation between Jim and Albrecht is worth discussing because they talk about how you identify a good puppeteer. One thing I'll give props to Albrecht is while he's talking about this conversation, he keeps saying like, yeah, whether he or she is a good puppeteer,
Uh-huh.
and Jim only says he and him,
Oh, I didn't
and like
notice that.
in Jim's world, only men can be puppeteers. Apparently,
That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty clear, I guess.
it's
From what
close
we've
to
seen.
true with Muppet
There's like
performers.
2 ladies who can do it.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Albrecht goes out of his way at one point to be like, yes, whether he or she, like, wants to be a puppeteer, it might take years to develop. And Jim immediately follows that up saying, yeah, like, oh, yeah, he can't really develop until he's had 3 years of constant work.
Jim, come on, man. This is like I think we talked about it before, but like our boss has like a podcast where he talks to his wife about stuff, and sometimes I listen to it just to see like what he's thinking about. This is
Yeah.
like overhearing your boss saying something and you're like, oh fuck. Whereas like if he, because Jim's like, oh, I think I don't know if somebody's a good puppeteer until like 3 to 6 months. And if I was somebody working
He
for
says
Jim
3
Henson,
years, I believe.
there's another part where he's like, I don't know if they got the goods until a few
Oh,
months.
it takes 3 years to become like a
Really
solid
good.
puppeteer.
3
Okay.
years of working with a character, yeah. But then before that, he's like, oh, I'm not really sure about them until like 3 to 6 months. And if I was somebody who was working for Jim and it had been like two or 3 months, I'd be like, oh fuck.
I didn't realize
Who's
this
he
was a
talking?
probationary period.
Is he talking about me?
I mean, right along those lines too, of like hearing your boss talk about your job in something. The conversation moves on to Bunraku, Japanese puppets, and Albrecht brings up that the puppeteers have to train for 15 years before stepping on stage. And at this point, I'm liking these 2 nerds, just nerding out, shooting the shit about puppets. And I wrote in my notes, give these guys a podcast.
Ew. Yeah, that would work, I guess.
But then things take a little bit of a weird turn because Jim mentions that Bunraku puppeteers spend 6 to 7 years just learning the left hand in Bunraku, and talks about how there's a master puppeteer who controls the main character, who wears wooden shoes while performing, and if an assistant puppeteer messes up, he'll kick him in the shins, but never tell him what he did wrong.
Yeah, and then Albrecht's like, yes, and they thank him for kicking them.
Yeah. Jim says, that's something I like, and says, I think we better start kicking our puppeteers more often.
Yeah, come on. Big CEO energy.
Yeah, that's when I wrote down, never mind. Don't give these guys a podcast.
Yeah, they're a couple of creeps.
I don't want to hear where these conversations go if they are
No.
unfiltered for too long.
I wonder if that's true.
I mean, it sounds,
It sounds plausible.
Yeah, they both seem to know about it.
That's true.
Which at least means it's made it into, common conversations.
Or it's like one of those things that Bunraku puppeteers tell other puppeteers so that they'll won't
Not
even
get into
try
there.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a real thing or not. I, again, don't know much about Bunraku, but on a quick Google, you can't really find the words Bunraku, puppet, kick, shin,
Yeah.
in an article altogether. So
If this is real, it didn't make it onto the internet.
yeah, outside of this one episode of this TV show.
I'm learning that there's a Josh Hartnett martial arts movie called Bunraku. There's maybe puppets. It says there's some kind of skewed reality element to it involving shadows. But yeah, when you search Bunraku kick, you get this because it's called Bunraku and a lot of people are getting kicked.
Well, getting away from that Bunraku and back to our real Bunraku, we've got the end of the Albrecht Roser episode, which again ends on just a clown trying to catch a balloon, and the credits just start to roll.
Yeah, I like when the credits start to roll, they have clearly inserted a huge round of applause.
Like mid-performance.
Yeah, because it ends with just the clown is just wandering around on the stage, and then the credits start to roll, and it's like, yeah,
hell yeah! I knew exactly when to clap.
I think this is the flattest ending of any of these that we've seen.
Yeah, both of these don't end with Jim. Both of these just end with a performance, and then the credits start rolling.
Yeah.
But at least Richard Bradshaw's has a bit more of an ending to it.
Right.
This one is literally, he's still going, and they just decided to end. It's like they played him off at the Oscars.
Richard Bradshaw's ends on kind of a moment of yes, you did it. But this one just ends on and then he spun around in a circle with that clown puppet till this very day.
Well, then getting into the Richard Bradshaw episode, it's worth noting Richard Bradshaw, still alive, still out there, still doing it. By doing it, I don't really know what he's doing right now. But I can say that in 2020, he was on the Talking Sock podcast, which is, a puppetry-based podcast. And he did a two-parter on there. So I have not listened to the full thing. But if you want to hear what Richard Bradshaw was up to in 2020, there you go. There's also a 2002 documentary about him, which shares some of the same information from what we watched, but at a different point in his life. So it's sort of, for somebody that, Jim calls one of his oldest friends, they're about the same age. It is sort of an alternate reality where you can sort of see what another famous puppeteer did as he got older.
Right.
Whereas Jim obviously did not get that chance.
Yeah.
But Jim introduces this as he's going to Australia, one of the younger nations of the world, to look at one of the oldest forms of puppetry.
Oh, that's why he said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a nice parallel to it.
Yeah. I didn't put that together while I was watching.
You're just like, what the hell?
I was just thinking, what a weird thing to say.
But I mean, to be fair, Sam, do you know when Australia became a country?
Let's see. 1902.
Wow.
Is that right?
It's 1901.
Wow, I'm pretty smart.
Look at that.
I was, because we just watched that Artful Dodger show.
Right.
So it's kind of piecing together when would have that taken place? And it seemed like they were just becoming a country at that point.
Yeah, I think that actually takes place a couple decades before they became a country, but I think they were probably working on it.
Yeah, I think there's parts where they're like, we got to become a country.
Yeah, obviously people lived in Australia for, tens of thousands of years before that.
Oh,
but
sure.
the Australia we know as of today,
country called Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't exist until 1901, which I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I can say that my wife knew exactly because of the same reason you just said. She was like, well, I was watching the Artful Dodger.
But this one right away was like, what? Because I'm like, shadow puppet, I know what that is. And then you see a little living cartoon guy in color. What the hell? How do you make his mouth move?
I know. The most impressive one is the least behind the scenes
Yeah.
one that they don't show us anything of how he's doing that one, but he has like a living cartoon shadow puppet, and I don't know. Forgive me, Australia. I don't know if he's trying to do a New Zealand accent or if this
Oh.
is like a specific Australian accent, but
Uh-huh.
it sounds exactly like Rhys Darby to me.
Oh yeah, it does.
And I'm just watching this, trying to understand it, and I can't.
Yeah, because you must have had like it must have been like I feel like there's Muppets who are like this where their mouths are like a rubber band that
Right.
moves around.
Well,
So
like
it
we
must have
saw
been something like that.
the super weird, trippy, can't remember the name of it right
The
now,
big
but
face guy?
the big face one that Jim used to do for a while in the 60s
Right.
on a bunch of the talk shows where it was just like 3 big rubber bands
Yeah.
being puppeteered.
That's what I figure it must be like, but man, that was a great intro because like
Limbo. That one
Limbo.
was called Limbo.
Yeah. Cuz it was totally like you think you know what shadow puppets are? You idiot. We can do them in color now.
I think the color aspect, and he does it a few times throughout, and I'm like, dude, you should do this all the time because this looks
Yeah.
amazing.
There's an elegance to the shadow puppet ones. The one he does where it's the story about like the sheik and the getting
Yeah.
cursed. That one has elements of color. I feel like that works really well.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's the shadow with just like flourishes of it.
Yeah. But the cartoon man is here to tell us all that he's trying to get us to rise up because everywhere around the world, puppets are being manipulated. And it's time for the puppets to rise up. And as he does this, a human hand comes in, grabs him, and throws him away.
Real great start.
Yeah, no, I'd say I don't know if I have anything bad to say about Richard Bradshaw.
I think yeah, this one was far and away my favorite of all of them for sure. And it's probably because it was funny. Like that probably has a
Mhm.
lot to do with it, which maybe just betrays my biases. But he was funny and he was humble. I think that was a great combo.
Well, and there's something about watching this guy he's making all of these cardboard puppets. He's carrying
Hmm.
them around in the biggest suitcases you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Or like as he travels the world, he just has these 2 gigantic suitcases because one has to be big enough to hold the screen that doesn't fold,
Uh-huh.
and the other one has 150 cardboard puppets stacked up on top of each other.
Uh-huh.
And he apparently, I guess, doesn't need clothes.
Yeah. I guess not.
He alludes to the fact that he sends things ahead of time. So it almost sounds like he like sends
Oh.
like his normal travel stuff to the country he's going to,
I
and
guess
then
that
he
makes
meets his stuff
sense.
there.
And
But he
guards the
carries,
stuff that's like really important.
yeah, I don't know if he's buying like 3 airplane seats or what he's doing, but
Well,
those things are a little big.
1985, I think it was a different price to fly in an airplane, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know that a shadow puppeteer is making a lot of money.
Maybe in 1985 in Australia. Also, as with all of these people, this is somebody who lives in the country where the arts are supported. So if you like write a letter to the government once a year that says, I'm really
Right.
good at doing
He was
shadow
earning a
puppets,
government salary from being a shadow
yeah,
puppeteer.
then they'll send you like, $50,000 and then you can just do whatever you want.
Oh, that's probably true.
I think that is pretty much what it's like. Somebody from a different country tell us, but I assume with how many independent cartoons Canada makes, all you have to do is write a letter to the prime minister that says, "I'm going to make a cartoon about a little naked guy whose penis is flopping around," and then they say, culture," and send you a big old fat check.
Can you tell me what you're referencing there?
Yeah, like every Canadian independent cartoon that they used to play on Cartoon Network in the middle of the night.
There's
Where
penises?
yeah, there were penises, there were naked people, there were people getting blown up by nuclear explosions. I mean, these are basically like art pieces, like the kind of stuff that you'd see like as a nominated, like an Oscar nominated.
Right.
That's why all the Oscar nominated cartoons are from different countries, also, or a lot of them.
Yeah, the shorts especially.
Because if you tried to make, yeah, totally. If you tried to make a short here, you'd starve to death. And if you tried to make a
Or you have
short
to work at Disney.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if you tried to make a short in Ireland, for instance, you could say, "Please," and they'd say, "Okay."
Well, I mean, it sounds like we're talking out of our ass, but I believe you
I think
at the
I
same
think I'm
time.
I think I'm as almost as right as I've ever been in my life, but
Well, we get to see the sketch that's the Broken Bridge, which is apparently a 200-year-old French sketch
yeah,
with Richard Bradshaw's own little twists on it. which, as
Yeah,
Jim says, is his favorite part.
his twist is, so it's like a guy working on a bridge, like a construction worker, and then this rich guy comes and says, "Hey, when's this bridge going to be done?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, not for a while." And then the rich guy's like, "Ah, fuck you," and then comes across on a boat, and then goes to beat the construction worker, and then the construction worker catches him with his pickaxe and throws him across the river. In the old one, he says it ends with the rich guy beating the construction worker, and
Yeah.
that was the punchline.
Yeah. That people laughed at. They were like, haha, yes, good job, Richmond.
Excellent.
Beat down the blue collar worker.
Which did make me think that maybe the world has always been the same as it is now, where it's like a peasant literally with a pickaxe was probably watching that and being like, wow, when I'm rich, I'm going to beat the shit out of so many peasants with my stick.
But yeah, thankfully, no, we get the guy. He's chipping away at the bridge. And this is when we cut backstage, and I'm just like, how?
Yeah.
He's
Because he has
turning.
one stick and he's just like,
Yeah. We see one single stick, and all of this motion is happening from this guy just going, like
It's
rotating a
amazing.
pencil in your hand in front of
Yeah.
you. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, these things are just built so well
Yeah.
that all he has to do is rotate a single wooden doll,
It's so
and
cool.
it works.
Mm-hmm.
I also love his giant lav mic. He has just like this giant microphone around his neck, like a harmonica thing. And he's not only puppeteering, but he's reading and performing everything while he walks around and grabs his other puppets. Like,
Yeah.
watching him work, I feel like it so lives in his head. Like, he
Mhm.
just knows every beat of every story and what he needs to do, and the muscle memory is so solid
Yeah,
that
even something as simple as the way that he fills in time as he's preparing his new
yeah.
puppet, like he has all the songs timed out and stuff where like he's always doing something to distract you from the fact that there's not a puppet on screen or that he's switching something out. It's very magic showy. It's great.
But then when Jim and Richard are chatting, they show off another one of a fly landing on a lion. The lion, we learn later on, is a big wooden puppet, not a cardboard one, because it's bigger and has a lot of complicated parts. But he talks about how he hates wood puppets because they catch on each other and they're not as nimble.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing I liked, is that a lot of his complaints were just like, why this puppet sucks. Like,
Well, and they're like real problems you would run into
yeah.
if you're making this stuff. You'd like naturally learn of like, oh yeah, I don't like using the wood because it's harder to make and it is actually worse for what I do.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing I want to hear more of. I want to see them carving their puppets and building their puppets and being like, "Ah, this one didn't work because of this and
Yeah.
this."
I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me in this that I think I wouldn't have guessed when we watched just the Richard Bradshaw pieces on the Muppet Show is that he's
Mhm.
doing this all by himself.
I did not that did not occur to me at all either.
Like in the Fly and Lion one, like the lion has so many moving parts and is so complicated, and this fly is flying around and bugging it. At one point, the lion eats it, and then it flies out his butt. Like there's so much happening there at the same time that I don't know. Like I'm watching him do it, and I'm like, I don't know how you do this with two hands.
Yeah. And you can't like really see what it looks like, and it's like, yeah, it's amazing.
Then we see the ones we alluded to earlier, which is just a few quick jokes in a row that he's really good at being
Mhm.
funny, being clever. We get the thinker who kicks his sculptor. We get a boxer who's fighting a punching bag and losing, and then we get the Dutchman with his windmill who takes off in a flying windmill. And then we get feet with just a bunch of like footprints walking across the screen. You don't think too much of it until one of the feet starts shooting its toes off in different directions, and then one turns into a rooster and
Uh-huh.
walks away, and then one turns into its own creature where it also has feet.
The one where the toes shot off got me in a visceral way. I did not like
There's a
that.
noise to it where it seems like they're breaking off as
Yeah.
they shoot into the air.
Yeah, definitely was picturing my own toes doing that, and it was
Meh.
horrifying.
And then related to feet, we get legs. Just two big old man legs standing there in some shorts. And a worm starts crawling up the man's leg and crawls up his shorts. I gotta say, Sam, I got a little worried.
about that that a penis would be involved at some point?
I thought it was going to be a little crude, and that the worm might dangle
Like
down.
flop out?
Yeah, in a way
Yeah,
where it's
okay.
like, get it? It looks like a penis, but it's the worm. And then he was going to fall off or something like that.
Right. This is for children though, Matt.
Yeah, it is. I get that. But I guess if I was doing this sketch,
That's maybe what you
I
would
wouldn't
do.
do it, but I'd consider it
You'd
for a
think
moment.
every time that you had the worm up there, you'd be like, this time I'm going to do it. This
It'd
time
be
I'm going to
so
do
easy.
it.
It'd be so easy to just make this a penis. But instead, the worm just crawls through the shorts and falls out the other side of his shorts.
Yeah, this one's not really much.
No. And the man stomps on it, and the crowd seems a little upset that he killed the worm.
Yeah, that one was weird.
He sings a song called Villikins and his Dinah, which
Mhm.
is sort of a Romeo and Juliet,
Basically
sort of an
Romeo and Juliet.
Aladdin
Yeah.
kind of thing where dad wants his daughter to marry a guy. She don't wanna, so she poisons herself. And then this guy comes around and he's like, I also will poison myself.
Yep. And
But
then her dad explodes.
yeah, he just breaks into a bunch of pieces. While the lesson of it that Richard shares seems to be like, listen to your dad and marry who he wants you to marry.
Yeah, I thought that was an odd takeaway from that. But it also sounded like it was that was like an old song, like a
Oh yeah,
like a
again, I think
Middle
all of these
Ages
are
song.
based on old things,
Right.
and it's just interesting that he drives home that lesson. Whereas I feel like in other ones, he sort of goes against the lesson or puts a twist on something like Old MacDonald in a way where you're like, oh, I like this change he's made.
Right.
Whereas that he was just like, yes, listen to your father and marry
Yeah,
whoever
she
he
should have
wants you to
married.
marry.
She should have married the guy she didn't want to marry.
She wouldn't
was
be
rich.
dead if she married him.
He was rich, and she wouldn't be dead.
But then Richard shows Jim some of his secrets. For instance, he has an interesting, like, orange fish puppet, and he talks about the challenges of having to make puppets that can move either direction because,
You
because of
can't,
the way the stick's
basically.
attached, you
Yeah.
can't make them walk to the right and then to the left. But he has some, like his fish, that have this little rotating mechanism on top where he just sort of like flicks his wrist and it makes the fish go in an opposite direction. And then we see the story of Caliph Stork. This is where a man gets turned into a stork after huffing some mysterious powder a stranger gave him.
That's just what people were doing back in the day. If a magical stranger sold you some kind of trinket, you'd huff
Hey, what's
it.
the smell like? Oh, damn, I'm a bird. But there's a great transition moment in this one where as the man turns into the bird, he pulls the puppet back from the screen and he gets
Mhm.
out of focus
Yeah,
and then
it
brings the
blurs
stork
out.
into focus.
Really cool. Yeah, this one was like amazing.
Yeah.
And especially because it was only one person.
Yeah. Yeah, you have 2 or 3 characters. You have an owl, a stork, the vizier walking across the stage, and it's just this is all one man. And again, because they keep showing backstage and showing him doing it, it's even more impressive.
Right. Right. Yeah, because like the other thing is that he has to like lean them so that he can operate the other ones. So then he needs to like change his grip and like maneuver them around each other. It's beautiful.
Well, it just feels so easy to get wrong. Like it feels like just you go to pick up something on your desk and you drop your pen because you grabbed it wrong.
Right.
That happens all the time.
Right.
But if this guy just like flicks his wrist a little, like half an inch in the wrong direction, that bird doesn't look like it's flying anymore.
Right, or he knocks over some other piece of scenery
Yeah.
and like ruins the whole illusion. But of anybody, he talks the least about that aspect of it. He's the least like, I'm painting a picture in my audience's mind and I'm trying to teach them lessons about mortality and stuff like that. He's just like, I got little guys on sticks. I'm having a good time.
I wish the only thing I wish we could have seen more of in this one is maybe him making one. Like to show how he's pinning them together. Because the next segment he's talking about the traveling and like what he needs to make his show work. And he mentions that he needs power, and so in some places he's had to use like a generator to power his lights, and how like it's just super noisy then while he's doing his show. But then they show him with his giant ass suitcases walking around, and he is getting ready for a show and unpacking and all this stuff. And when he's talking to Jim, he's saying that normally these things are made of 3 pieces of cardboard. And he has like 2 that are connected to rods that he can control, and then 1 piece in between that sort of is flimsier and limp that basically reacts to the motion of the other two, so it looks a little more natural. And I wish we could see him construct one of these.
Yeah.
But then we get to see some stuff we've already seen, because we get to see the ostrich and hippo bit that we saw on the Muppet Show forever ago, where you got some animals climbing stairs and sliding down a slide and going across a tightrope. And the hippo keeps ruining everything because it's much, much larger than a mouse and an ostrich. Still fantastic, though, even though we've seen this before. I think I wish this is actually something where I was like, oh, well, could we see behind the scenes of this? Because we've seen the in front of screen version of this before. So I'd like to see more
how the
that we don't
tightrope
see.
works or something. Yeah.
Precisely. I want to see, like, is it just a rubber band or a piece of string that he's back there pushing on and hoping it looks convincing?
And Jim talks about the mouse in that,
Yeah.
and that how that's his favorite puppet. Totally, like he nailed
Oh,
it
yeah.
on that mouse, who doesn't have any moving parts at all.
He has like a limp tail, I think, right?
Yeah.
But he does
But
talk
no
about
like
how
puppetable really parts. He's just
right.
Yeah.
And he talks about how people have like come up to him and talked to him about the mouse and talked about its little legs moving, and he's like, that thing don't have legs.
There are no legs on this, you idiot.
Fooled you again.
Yeah. I just loved how simple his whole philosophy was about just like the thing that's funny is just simple. Don't gotta overthink it.
Yeah.
My puppets are just simple. My mouse got a wiggly tail. That's all people need to see a mouse walking around.
Well, and Jim even tries to ask him a deeper question, which he tries in the Albrecht one a little bit too, and also doesn't get a great answer. But he's asking like, do you have rules for your comedy, or do you have rules that go into your shows of what you like do and don't do? And he's kind of, it seems like nobody thinks they have rules when he asks them these questions, and then they talk for a few minutes and you realize they kind of have rules,
right?
But his rules basically boil down to like, keep it simple, stupid. We get to see him do an Old MacDonald number where, it's pretty straightforward at the beginning until a mysterious blobby rabbit looking animal comes out.
Yeah, this one was funny.
Yeah, and Richard, as the narrator, doesn't know what to say about this animal or what to call it or what noise it should make.
Yeah.
And he even ramps up another level, because then after that one goes off, various animals like a horse and a T-Rex start running across the screen while making incorrect noises. And it sounds not funny.
It sounds stupid, but it is genuinely
it.
very funny.
Yeah.
Especially the little blobby guy comes out. That almost feels like, it almost felt like ahead of its time or something. I'm not really entirely sure how, but it was just like,
it feels too weird for all of his other stuff. Like all of his other stuff is weird but straightforward in a way that makes sense if you saw it on Sesame Street. Whereas I think if we saw this on Sesame Street, we'd be like, I don't think you can do that. I don't think it's allowed.
Yeah.
I think it's too weird.
True. A little blobby guy comes out. Yeah.
I think it makes you think too much about what is that little blobby guy.
Uh-huh.
What would he look like not in shadow?
Yeah, since it's a shadow, then it's even more disturbing. And yeah, and it makes you, it really challenges everything you know about Old MacDonald.
Well, and they talk about it afterwards that he learned that song in Japanese first.
Yeah.
Which they don't really get into.
No.
Like, if I guess he grew up in Japan, maybe. But how he also has to like adjust animal noises, because in different countries, different, like in America we have like, ducks say quack.
In America, animals
dogs
are
say
making
bark.
the correct sound.
Wow, wasn't
Every
gonna say
other
that.
country,
But
they got
Sam will. So direct your emails to Sam Schultz.
He says in Germany, frogs say quack. That ain't right. That ain't right.
But
I find it suspicious Albrecht didn't broach that subject when he has a whole frog part of his show.
Well, but they're singing with like trumpets. That's even further from reality.
I guess actually Germans just don't know what sound a frog makes.
They ain't never seen a frog in Germany.
Seen or heard one, yeah.
But yeah, they say, Richard says that Japanese ducks make the gaga is the noise that Japanese ducks make. But this is something I feel like I just learned about in like the last handful of years.
Right.
When people talk about like the way you do a dog impression in your country, and how that varies by country. And it's sort of wild that like that's one of those things you don't think about.
Yeah, because it really, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Woof.
Right, like you'd say, woof,
bark.
woof. That's a dog.
That's a dog. That's what they're always doing. Meow, especially meow. Cat, you can literally, like, you can see the word meow come out of their mouth.
I mean, yeah, apparently in Spanish it's like guau guau for dogs. In Turkish they say hev, and in Mandarin they say wang wang. So none of those are woof woof.
Nope, not at all. Not even
But if
close.
you think about woof, that's also not really like.
Woof woof. That's
I
not what
want to
they're doing.
say dogs don't say woof, but I think they do. I think dogs say woof.
Actually, looking at what cats say in different languages, pretty much all of them are meow.
They're all
So,
variations on meow.
yeah, the cat one they kind of got.
Okay.
Man, it is kind of. I'm thinking too hard about it now, but it's weird that dogs like make a sound, and that cats really kind of do say a word.
Well, and I also, again, my pronunciation of these is probably horrible. So maybe like the actual, Turkish pronunciation of what I'm seeing here spelled phonetically as hev
Is a bit more guttural. Is a bit
sounds more like woof woof.
yeah, more open to interpretation. Because even like, I don't think you could spell the word that a dog makes, or you couldn't spell that sound. I mean, I guess it's also possible that dogs in all these other countries are talking totally different.
I mean, there is that again, that thing that is obvious, but you do forget that, like, if I'm in Italy, an Italian dog is not going to understand me.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
That dog does not understand English. That dog was raised to understand Italian.
That dog's like, I usually don't really know what you guys are talking about, but I really have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
Come
Sit
again?
is not a command.
Sit. Hmm.
Come here. Sit. Those aren't Italian phrases.
I'm trying to meet you halfway here, but yeah, the dog doesn't speak the same language. Wild.
But then Jim asks Richard if things can go wrong, because obviously it looks like this is hanging by a thread. And he says, yeah, occasionally things go wrong. Most often it seems like his pile of puppets becomes a little unstable, and he has to use his leg to like keep them up while he is continuing to puppeteer.
I feel like there's solutions to that, but he's the expert, not me. I love his, like, he's got the system set up where he has all the scenes divided up in a big pile.
Yeah.
There's like a big piece of paper in between all of them. So he's just like, flip that piece of paper over, get these
just
guys.
move it from left to right. Like,
yeah. What I'd recommend is some supports on each of the four corners.
Yeah.
That would hold it up in a pile, It's not too late. Maybe I can get in touch with him and let him know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still puppeteering. He's like 86 years old.
But yeah, these look like you'd flip one over and be like, oh boy, this guy's leg fell off. I'm screwed now.
Yeah, and he talks about like repairing puppets on the fly, which I don't want him to be in that situation, but I would love to see him actually have to do that in the moment of,
and like,
oh, this guy needs to turn into a stork and the stork isn't ready, so I have to quickly attach a string and then fix it. Yeah. And again, just that he knows how to do that instinctively.
Right, and sing his little song while he's doing it too. Just be like, I'll just add a couple extra. Do 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 do.
Yeah, just have his little mouse come out again and be like, whoa.
Yeah, you guys like this, right? What's he controlling it with if he's making the puppet with his hands? He's got it like in his butt cheeks or something.
Then we learn the story of the kookaburra and how the sun was made, which is most notable, I think, for the amazing use of gels on his main light to simulate a sun rising.
Yeah, that was cool. Sunset and nighttime. Yeah.
Well, and this is one where you see him, he has to set up like 12 different pieces of a set and light things beforehand. And then he turns on the light and you're like, all right, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the real payoff is at the end when he makes the sunrise. And you're like, this stuff is all so, for lack of a better word, amateurish. But that's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying that like in a bad way. I'm saying that it looks like there's probably really expensive, fancy ways you could set all this up that would do the same thing.
Right.
But I am more impressed by somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I'm more impressed by him doing this just with himself and like literally pieces of plastic and rubber bands at points.
I thought this one was really beautiful too. I loved this one.
He also gets to make the fun kookaburra noise, which Jim tries to get him to make again when they're outside.
Is he like too embarrassed, or he's like, I can't do it? It's like, bro, you just did it like 8 times.
I think it's because he's outside. They're walking through like a public park. Jim in a fantastic sweater, by the way.
Yeah, he looks cool.
They're talking about Australian identity and trying to convey that through his puppetry, which is really interesting. But in the middle of that, Jim does sort of ask about the kookaburra noise, and he almost goes to do it, and then kind of looks around. He's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, maybe a real kookaburra would come kick his ass if he did it.
They do allude to that. Something about like a real one might hear me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a genuine concern.
Yeah, I don't know much about kookaburras. They look cool. That's all I know about them.
Yeah, have you ever seen one in real life?
Yeah, I've
They're
seen them at a zoo.
bonkers.
They're
Yeah, I thought the discussion about identity was really interesting too, because he was like, there were people here before us. There's people coming in all the time, so our identity is in flux. And there's like even a part in the next one that's a little bit woke in a way that like his audience is so old that I was like, what are these people? I'd love to know what these people thought about
yes.
that part.
There's a part where they even like it's the strength of the editing. It's not necessarily what's happening in this moment, but it makes it look like there's an old lady who's slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally.
Because we get the coolest thing we've ever seen in one of these episodes.
Uh-huh.
We get Super Kangaroo.
I fucking love Super Kangaroo.
As far as I could tell, this one might be a Richard Bradshaw original.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, well, because everyone joins in on the song.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, is this a thing? Like, is his song just so catchy that everyone's like, "Yeah, I have to sing along with this. This is great. Or is this a known song in Australia? But I couldn't, at a quick glance, find any evidence that this exists.
No, when you search Super Kangaroo, you get a lot of that really buff kangaroo.
Oh, I don't like him. To be fair, though, like I think Super Kangaroo would probably look like that.
I think that's right. I like that guy. I think he's fine.
It feels like if Super Kangaroo was a DC superhero.
Yes, the reboot, like there was Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew, and then when they reboot Captain Carrot, which they have done, he's like gritty Captain Carrot. He's like, all my
Yeah.
friends are dead.
Yeah, I think that's what if he's gonna be Batman v Superman
This is
v
the Dark Knight
Super Kangaroo.
Returns. Super Kangaroo is the buff kangaroo. Yeah.
Ugh. But what we get is a very cute, adorable cartoon kangaroo wearing an Australian flag as a cape.
Yep.
Who is up to some stuff, saving. He's just at first he's just saving a sheep from being stolen,
Mm-hmm.
but then he is saving someone from getting their house torn down by the man.
Yeah, like an Aboriginal person who has their home set up, and then a big bulldozer comes because he's like, because the land's worth a few bucks and it's gonna tear his house down. But Super Kangaroo carries it away. Then it shows the audience. It shows several shots of old people, and I'm just trying to scrutinize if they're like, well, yes, but that's our land, or not.
Yeah, it's that was you see both the grandma and the granddaughter sort of laughing at this
Yeah.
moment and like also not really sure, but as soon as he launches back into the Super Kangaroo song, they're back on
Then
board.
they're like, yeah, we love Super Kangaroo.
But it was I think it was a very interesting. You talked about how he is the least pretentious of these puppeteers that we've talked about and how he doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily talk about the message he's trying to work into his puppetry. He's just kind of doing it.
Mhm.
And then when he does talk about trying to work a message into his puppetry, he does it with so much success
Right.
and it works so incredibly well
Right.
that like, holy shit, I'm like watching this just going, oh, you really pulled that off.
Uh-huh.
And I would be afraid that somebody who doesn't do this often could mess that up pretty easily.
Yeah, yeah. You got everybody singing along though.
But it looks like a living cartoon. There's so much color used in the gels here that it is, again, so many moving pieces. It's very, very impressive.
I mean, yeah, it's really not so different than the way that like a Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon would be animated.
Mhm.
Like he's just doing that real time almost.
But the episode ends after Super Kangaroo, and we see Richard Bradshaw letting everyone come backstage to see
Mhm.
how his little setup works. Well, that means we did it, Sam. We finished up another TV show that the Muppets weren't really involved in, but Jim Henson was there.
Yeah, he was there occasionally. Every now and then he was there for a couple minutes. Was this worth watching for commitment? Like I guess we had to, but did we have to?
What do you think?
Yeah, I guess Jim was there.
I think it lends, I think it gives us an insight into Jim Henson's thoughts behind the scenes of what he was doing in the 80s with things like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and how he was exploring more puppetry.
Mhm.
I think it's also we've learned some things about Jim's history with puppeteers and who his friends are and who he's looked up to and why he does what he does.
Mhm.
So I think there's definitely some elements in there that I think were worth watching. Am I glad I watched every single second of the performances? Not necessarily.
I resent it a bit because it made me not like some of these people. And I want to not
Mm.
be like anti-intellectual in a way where I'm like, that sucked.
Yeah.
But some of it sucked, kind of.
It feels like a bit like almost like a don't meet your heroes moment where if you had just seen, you know, some of the stuff in the Here Come the Puppets documentary
Hmm.
or just small moments of these puppets, you'd be like, that's a really cool puppet. I bet the guy who made that is great and interesting.
Yeah.
And then you watch him talk for 5 minutes, you're like, well, I was wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah. But I do agree that anything that gives us an opportunity to learn, to like potentially have a little bit more insight into Jim, I guess falls under the auspices of the commitment.
You heard it here, folks. Them's the rules. We
Yep.
will never deviate from that at all.
Any future people who are doing the commitment must watch this. It is ruled, and they must watch Puppet Master because you'll learn a lot about some of these guys.
I do think I think your point there is valid though of especially when it comes to Jim Henson. There's not an unlimited supply of Jim Henson content out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like when it comes to Muppets and we talk about Sesame Street, we made a choice not to watch all of Sesame Street because we couldn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes because it doesn't exist and sometimes because we prefer our sanity. But with Jim, it's not like there's a lot of Jim out there in the world that we would choose not to watch because it's so far outside the realm. So
Mm-hmm.
that way, when something creeps in where it's just like, oh, it's an interview with Jim, it's like, right. But we only had so many years of Jim being a public figure to
Right.
watch that, like, why wouldn't we watch everything Jim Henson ever did as himself?
Yeah. Hear every word straight from the man himself and read his
Right.
diary.
Yeah. Sorry, Jim, if that's too private. I'm sure there was some editing done and things left out if he had any negative thoughts about people, but
Yeah.
he doesn't strike me as a guy who was super negative.
Right.
Well then, Sam, it's time for me to check in and see if you had time to enjoy some non-Muppet things.
I saw Dune 2.
Dune 2.
Yeah, Dune
Tune.
2. Dune 2. Did you ever seen Dune?
I still haven't seen Dune. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I will really enjoy Dune. I just have to like
Yeah.
sit down and give myself the time to enjoy it.
Yeah. I liked it. I did like it.
Mm,
I struggle with Timothy Chalamet in that role. I think it makes sense for him to be like this charismatic kind of leader slash slightly a himbo kind of guy who's just like accidentally following this path that is not in control of his own fate. But there's like just stuff about Dune where it's like so uncharismatic,
mm,
where it's so much like it's so not dissimilar from like a biblical story where
mm.
you come away from it like you don't really know any of the characters. There's not really like an opportunity to like any of the characters exactly,
Gotcha.
but it's just a spectacle. So you can I respect the spectacle. I don't know if it's an entirely fulfilling movie for me to watch,
Hmm.
but I also think it's really interesting that so many people are going to see a movie that is like exposes like the dangers of following religion,
Right.
or exposes occasionally like some of the positive aspects of some religions that aren't Christianity.
Right.
um or and just like there's a part of it where it's like very respectful to people who have different religious beliefs, and a part of it where it's like shedding a little bit of light or making you think about like how that can be exploited by other people.
Mm.
So that is interesting. And then
Yeah.
it's like the number one movie in the country ultimately about like religious fanaticism.
Right. People keep it's interesting to see the list. There's lots of things going around right now on Twitter about like film is back, cinema is back. Look at these blockbusters we've got. And they keep including Oppenheimer on the list.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, did you watch Oppenheimer? Or did you just watch the bomb go off? Because like
Yeah.
that movie is not a blockbuster film. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
action scenes happening in Oppenheimer.
No,
So to
it's
put that on
just
the same list as Dune and Top Gun and Avatar feels very weird to me.
yeah, and I think that's a problem I have with that movie too, is where it just operates in such an odd space where since Christopher Nolan directed it, there's a certain contingent of meatheads who like that movie and don't
Because
understand why.
because they like The Dark Knight.
Yes.
And they're like, I guess this is our guy.
And they're like, Nolan's the best director. Why though? Like, why do you think that? And what do you think his movies are about? Including the Batman movies. What do you think those are about? They're not just about, I'm Batman, I'm cool. Not even remotely.
Yeah. Do you like Christopher Nolan or do you like Heath Ledger?
But it was very fun to watch. And there's like, just rattles your damn bones when the worms are popping out of the ground. And the world building is so cool.
Yeah.
And the just like all the different cultures and stuff are so like I could see, I mean, you can see how humanity could turn into this in a couple billion years or whatever. Yeah, so it was fun. I mean, that's about all I did because we just recorded very recently.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long since we last recorded.
And Dune 2 is 12 and a half hours long. So I got
Yeah,
done recording, went to see Dune, and then came back to record.
I haven't seen the David Lynch one. I haven't seen the first Dune. I've read the book. I know next to
Yeah.
nothing about Dune.
To me, the David Lynch one is one of those movies where people have to pretend like it's good and they like it.
Right.
No, it's not good. You don't have to like it. There's like costume and set stuff that's really cool, but it is not a good movie.
It's playing at the Roxy this month. I'm tempted to just March is my Dune month where I watch Dune, I go see Dune 2, and then I go to Roxy and watch the old Dune.
Do you read Dune? Do you read Dune as well?
I mean, I don't have that much time.
Okay. Yeah.
Dune, the first Dune book is very large.
It's the old Dune is an oddity for sure.
Yeah.
The new Dune is it's a lot more meat on them bones. How about you? What'd you do?
Well, yeah, it also hasn't been a lot of time, so I've been still watching Formula One, still catching up on watching The Nanny, but mostly I watched Adaptation this week.
Oh, okay.
One of my favorite movies ever.
I haven't seen that since I was in high school, and it's one I really need to revisit because I don't remember it that well.
Yeah, I still love it. I think it's still great. I think that there's definitely things watching it now as not a film student that I have more issues with. That like as a film student, I thought it was genius from top to bottom. There's no flaws at all in it. Perfect film, and I still absolutely love that movie and think it's so bizarre. But I also is the most for me movie ever, and I totally understand if it is not for you.
Okay, why is it the most for you movie ever?
I just I don't know, something about like the way it the idea behind you want to do an adaptation of a book, and at a certain point it turns into a movie about the adaptation of the book and not an actual adaptation of the book itself. It's inventing characters who ended up getting nominated for Golden Globes and Oscars, but they don't exist in the real life.
Oh, yeah.
Because the credits say written by Charlie and Donald Kaufman, and so the Golden Globe nomination went to Charlie and Donald Kaufman.
Oh, that's weird.
And Donald Kaufman does not exist.
Yeah, inventing your own unhinged twin is also pretty good.
Yeah. And I just especially again going to film school and having a whole film that's about breaking the rules of how to make a movie. I thought was really interesting and something that I was definitely not in a position to try and like replicate when I was in film school, but I bet I thought I could.
I got it. Maybe I'll have to have a Charlie Kaufman month. You can have Dune month. I'll have Charlie Kaufman month.
I feel like Charlie Kaufman's one of those people I haven't kept up with his career. Whereas like early on, I was like Being John Malkovich, or Eternal Sunshine, Synecdoche, New York, all those things, great. And I think I graduated film school and then I didn't look back.
Right.
Because I haven't seen the I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I didn't even see his puppet one. He made a stop motion puppet movie that I haven't seen. So I think like he's somebody that I've always enjoyed and think I should watch more of his stuff. But I just for some reason I haven't kept up with the things he's done in the past several years.
So weird to see these people's movies be like Netflix original movie. I know that that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's kind of like back in my day, movies were released by movie studios.
Right, because it starts to feel like straight to DVD movies, which was like had the negative connotation in the 90s where it's like, oh yeah, well he made a movie, but it was a straight to DVD movie.
Which really we only have because we're just old men.
Right.
But
like I have friends of mine who directed straight to DVD movies. And like I don't look down upon them, but I also know that like the studios they worked with and the situations they were in, I was like, yeah, that's what you were able to do back then. Is like
Right.
if you got a movie released on DVD, that was an achievement,
Yeah.
and it was impossible to get movies anywhere else.
Yeah.
So now when it's like you have 1,000 avenues to release movies, and some of them are heralded as just as important as theatrical releases.
Right.
I think to me the weirder one sometimes is like when does it count as a TV show? Like if this is like a 6-part Netflix series where all the episodes are random lengths of time, this one's 30 minutes, that one's 55 minutes, and it's like, yeah, this one's a TV show, give it an Emmy.
Right.
And I'm like, I guess so, technically, but it's not on TV. It doesn't have the standards of a lot of like normal TV shows, but I guess it's not a movie, so I guess it's a TV show.
That is interesting. Like that. Like what's that new one that everybody's raving about? Shogun.
Oh
Like
yeah, Shogun, yeah.
that is probably more like a 10-hour movie.
Yeah, I think that's
interesting.
it is, especially when they're, a lot of them are written as essentially a very long ongoing movie and not written in a way you would write a TV show if it was airing week after week.
Yeah.
And
And is that
network
decision
TV.
made by people in boardrooms who are like, this is how we're going to maximize this by pushing it like this?
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird, and I'm kind of glad I'm not in that business. Well, before we go, Sam, I got to let you know what we're watching next time. And next time, get ready. We have our massive catch-up episode.
Hell yeah.
Where we are wrapping up 1985, and we are catching up on everything that we've missed that has either come out, been found since we would have watched it, or we just missed somehow along the way. So we've got almost 3 hours of stuff to watch and discuss.
Boy.
We've got The Jimmy Dean Show. We've got Donnie and Marie. We've got Hip Hip Parade and a bunch of other random TV appearances on shows I've never watched or heard of.
That means that the episode will be 6 hours long.
I have faith in us that there's going to be some of these things we will have very little to say about them because
we'll say that exists.
Yeah, that happened. But that will be next time. If you follow us on social media, we will post that massive list of things. Some of them are very recently posted to the internet. So if they are no longer available on YouTube, sorry about that by the time you're hearing this. But yeah, we can post the list so maybe you can try and track things down. Well, we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitment.com for your merch, morpits, and other things related to commitment. I don't know what those would be. Seeing our faces, listening to episodes, you can do that at commitment.com. You can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any, thoughts, questions, links to secret, unseen things that we haven't seen. Maybe wait until after we've done our catch-up episode because I don't want to add any more to that list right now. But you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at Commitment Pod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.